Final ending of Is It Good or Not? Other parts down below. Almost a year later. Anyway, things have been fine. We've been working well together for the sake of our daughter. 6 years old, with no disagreements. I stay out of her life, and for the most part she stays out of mine. But lately, my XW has been doing some really weird things. Last year I got into the new Doctor Who, and I've been watching it religiously ever since. Dee knows and watches it with me sometimes. The last time XW came to my house to drop off Dee was on a Saturday in September or October. Her and her BF had plans during her visitation weekend and asked me if I would watch Dee. I said of course. When she dropped her off, she was wearing a Doctor Who t-shirt, and she couldn't look me in the eye. When she spoke to me, she was looking at anything else but me. I thought that was weird on both counts, as she had never watched Doctor Who when we were together and was suddenly wearing a shirt only after I told my Dee I watched it now. But I just shrugged it off and figured it was a coincidence. She's also been sending me a lot more texts. They're all related to our daughter, but they've been happening much more frequently. It's like she's trying to find reasons related to our daughter to text me. But I didn't think much of it and kept on living. I figured she's just trying to be a bit more involved in co-parenting than she was before. We've been getting a lot of snow here in Oregon the past couple of days. She texted me on Thursday asking if I was going to work on Friday. She said she wasn't, and that I could drop off Dee at her place or she could pick her up from mine and that she was open to whatever. The thing is we rarely do that. Dee's daycare is close to both of us and we have always used it as neutral ground. I prefer it that way as I enjoy my privacy and don't care for my XW coming around my house. And I prefer to stay away from her place to respect her privacy. She did drop Dee off at my place that one Saturday, but since it was a Saturday there was no other choice and I'll put up with a few minutes with the X in order to get more time with my Dee. But on a day when daycare is open, I prefer to stick to the established norm of making the exchange on neutral ground at daycare. I told the XW that I was going to work on Friday and that I'll drop Dee off at daycare like normal. That way she can get Dee anytime throughout the day that is most convenient for her. She said, okay, no problem. Just wanted to check in. Friday morning I'm going through Dee's backpack, as she had a lot of clothes and toys that stay with me inside and I wanted to make sure I got everything. As I'm going through it, I see a little red book-like object. Curious, I open it and see it's a book that has inserts inside for pictures, and all the pictures are of me and my XW's wedding. My Dee never mentioned this to me the entire week. Plus, she wasn't even born then, so she has no memory of the wedding, and the picture book looked brand new. So, I don't think it's hers, and I don't think she even knew it was there. And red is the XW's favorite color. When I saw it, all her odd past behavior finally made sense. I was really hoping to have avoided this. I divorced the hell out of her and didn't look back. Not even once. I showed her under no uncertain terms that I was done. I am polite and cordial with her. We don't argue, and I'm very accommodating concerning our Dee. But I'm just trying to be a responsible co-parent. I have given no indication that I'm interested in R, and this begins. I just put the picture book back into Dee's bag and didn't mention it to her. Haven't mentioned it to the XW either. I'm going to pretend I didn't even see it. I'm wondering how much more of this I'm going to have to put up with in the days ahead. I've been single since last summer. Self-imposed. I seem to attract crazy women. So, I told myself a good solid 6 months at minimum with no relationship would be really good for me. And it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. Although I did go on a blind date last Wednesday, my XW refused individual counseling, and that told me everything I needed to know. There is no chance for me to even talk to her about anything between us until she has a few months of IC at minimum under her belt, because without it I definitely believe she will cheat again. If she ever asks me, I will flat out tell her that. If she continues to choose not to go to IC, no skin off my back. Life is really good without her in it. I don't talk to her unless I have to. I never make idle conversation. If it's something about our daughter I believe she needs to know, then I'll tell her. Other than that, I'm as quiet as a mouse. While she's still living with this guy, there is no way in hell. She hasn't changed and there is no chance until she proves that he has. What's really frustrating is that she's putting our cooperative co-parenting in danger with these shenanigans if she full-blown propositions me and I'm forced to shoot her down. I've dated a couple women post-split with the XW, and I enjoyed it. Both women were very intelligent and highly attractive, which was a big ego boost to be sure. But they both had their issues which were deal breakers to me, and I couldn't continue seeing either one. One of them wants to hang out again, which might be fun, but I don't think I want to get involved in her weird thing again. LW, you're exactly right. It's like she's trying to get me to initiate the R process. And I have no interest in that. I'm not exactly itching for R anyway. I really enjoy my single life and life away from her. But I suppose if she took the necessary steps all on her own, being single, counseling, fixing herself, and then approached me, I would be extremely guarded, but I'd probably at least hear what she had to say and decide where to go from there. But she isn't even within 1,000 light years of that yet, and as such I view these things as nothing more than breadcrumbs to be ignored. but I'm also very wary as to what she may do down the road. She pulled some really stupid crap post-divorce, and I know what she's capable of when she feels scorned. Oh, the irony. I believe there is a 1% chance that my XW can change and be a better person. It's so small as to be statistically irrelevant. I personally feel that I am much more likely to find happiness with someone new. If I were as eager to as that, I'd be on the phone with her right now. But I'm not. That's because I do know that right now, she's an extremely bad risk and there is no way in hell I'd put myself, our daughter, back in that situation again. I'd rather be single with no complications in my life. But on the flip side, people can change if they truly want to. I believe every human being has this capacity. It's not a question of ability, it's a question of want and will. But the odds of my XW having the want and will to follow through are essentially zero. So I have absolutely no faith. But if in that 1% chance she proves me wrong, I would hear what she has to say and then make a decision based on whether or not I believe her, think she's actually changed, and whether or not I can even stand to look at her. All the odds are not in her favor. After the affair was over and our divorce was a stone's throw away from being finalized, I got the whole "I'm ashamed of what I did. The kids have suffered enough," etc. I said, "You do seem different. Have you been going to counseling?" She said no, and that she believes she can get better all on her own. I said I disagreed with her for obvious reasons, but the choice is hers and the divorce will forward. She said, "Thank you for respecting my wishes." And that was that. I signed the papers and walked. This was about 1.5 years ago. I'm not considering anything with her right now. She won't seek help, and without that there is nothing. I believe that a person can be truly remorseful, and if she is and showed it, it may, not will, cause me to think about things. But even if I do think about it, it doesn't mean I'll actually try again. I have far too much of a wandering eye right now, and every woman I see is a potential opportunity. I don't think I could get rid of that feeling even if I got back together with her. I'd always be keeping an eye out for something better. She would have to change that in me and make that desire go away. I don't think she's got it in her. For now, I'm getting a little chuckle over her actions. The grass isn't greener. She realizes what she had. She realizes what her actions did to her children, and me letting go bothers her. I also think that she's still trying to keep me around as a backup plan, and I'm not playing that game at all. I'm open to whatever was an invitation, one that I politely declined. At this point, I'm still living my life for me and doing what I want. But I'm highly curious as to what she'll try next and how far she'll go, and how that may affect our daughter. She's used our daughter as a means to manipulate in the past, and it wouldn't surprise me if she did so again. I'm not going to allow myself to be fooled, but I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some entertainment value in all this. The shenanigans continue. The red picture book is still in Dee's backpack, who still hasn't mentioned it to me once. I got a good laugh this afternoon about it. I picked up Dee from daycare, and her daycare provider is a fantastic lady. She said Dee's backpack was very heavy and that she even has the kitchen sink in there. She also said that my XW cleaned it out yesterday. So, I get home and take all the toys out of Dee's backpack that belong here. And lo and behold, what do I see right on top of everything else but under all the toys? The red picture books. She bloody well knows it's in there and seems to be trying to get me to see it. You may commence laughter any time. The XW and I briefly texted about getting Dee into ballet a couple weeks ago. I said I think it's a great idea and that I'm willing to share the costs involved with her. I also told her that I'd like to get Dee into something musical. I was a trumpet player many years ago, so it's kind of important to me. I also don't want to approach Dee with something like that before discussing it with her mother. We have joint custody, and I respect that. She said she is open to that, and then proceeded to tell me that my ex-stepdaughter, XW's daughter from a prior marriage, now plays the flute, and almost chose to play the trumpet, and that seeing me with my trumpet had given her a love for music. I thanked her for the compliment, said I am glad I was able to be a positive influence, and politely ended the conversation. On a positive note, I started a new job yesterday. Got a rotation in the IT department of my agency, which something I've always dreamed about but never thought I could actually get. Well, I actually got it. It's a fantastic opportunity and I'm loving every minute of it. Who said life after divorce had to be painful? So many good things can happen if you really want them to, and it's really amazing what you can accomplish for yourself when you love yourself and put yourself first. Another year later, I just learned that my ex-WW is openly sleeping with multiple people, and that her new husband knows, and that she basically told him to deal with it. What's funny is that I derive no satisfaction from hearing this. I just feel bad for her. And her new husband, he's a genuinely good guy. It seemed like she was getting her life on track, and I was happy for her. I never wanted to reconcile, but I also never wanted her to suffer or be unhappy. Knowing that she's only gotten worse is just so sad. She's keeping it away from our daughter, for now. And I know I dodged a huge bullet by divorcing her 4 years ago, and for that I'm grateful. but I still hoped she would change, not for me, but for herself and her children. This is going to end badly, and I'll be there for my daughter to pick up the pieces. Maybe that's where my dread is coming from, seeing her little face sad and disappointed. She cares for her stepdad. Some people are just so broken that they are unfixable, and when the fallout affects your child, you feel so powerless. The only positive is that when I said she would never change, I was right. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. But that doesn't make it any less sad to watch another human flounder and fall. Again and again. Her behavior isn't my problem, no, until it affects my daughter, in which case I'm going to go for full custody. I wanted my daughter to have a stable life with her mom. I see now that's impossible, and that's going to complicate things until my daughter is old enough to understand and deal with it maturely. But she's only 8, not nearly old enough to understand yet. I pity my XW. She's broken and needs help. Not my problem, and I'm not going to make it my problem. But in spite of what she did to me, I always hoped she would have bettered herself. Most of all, I'm sad for the sadness my daughter has yet to face. But inevitably will. Nothing will stop my XW from doing what, or who, she wants to do. I can't rely on reasoning with her. I can only rely on cold hard facts. It feels good to get this off my chest. Truthfully, when I found out, I triggered hard. I have no desire to get back with her. Yuck. But it reminded me of the things she said and did to me when she cheated on me. But now I really understand when people say, it had nothing to do with me. And everything to do with themselves. I totally get it now. Honestly, a part of me felt like I wasn't good enough. Now I know that no one man could ever be enough for this woman. That's a very liberating feeling. It really is all about her and her dysfunction. My daughter seems fine, for now. I think the ex is keeping her kids insulated from it. For now, at least. What an ending. Story 2. I came from another country and migrated here to be with my husband. We had the same story of looking at life through rose-colored glasses. We were so in love with each other when I was still in my home country and he would just visit and stay for a month. I too had a good job. When I moved here, the promises that my husband made went all to crap. My husband had 4 girls from a previous marriage while I had a teenage daughter who came with me and lived with my husband and I here in America. My husband imposed all rules and regulations inside the house. I was okay with it because I am a strict parent as well and I believe in giving children responsibility inside the house. But when his own daughter moved into our house, the rules that he imposed on mine does not apply to his own child. Furthermore, this child would not do anything around the house, leaving my daughter and I to do all the housework. I mentioned this to my husband, but he was so scared of his own children since they were always throwing the divorce in his face. To add to the mix, my in-laws were always whispering in my husband's ear that he should not show any affection towards my daughter when his own children is around lest it makes them jealous. My husband was not a good provider. He let me live in this country for 3 years without health insurance while paid for his own. I was able to get my own insurance through my job and he dropped his in order to be covered by mine. I was okay with all this. All I wanted was for my husband to stand by me whenever somebody is attacking me. I became very resentful of his daughter who lived in our house because I felt like she is calling the shots in our own home. One day, my husband and I had an argument, and I chose to leave the house. My husband's daughter sent me a text saying, "After my father brought you to this country and rescued you and your daughter, this is how you repay him." Then went on and posted on Facebook that she wanted me to die. My husband wanted me to come back, but I told him I will not tolerate his daughter's behavior, and he told me that he will make her apologize to me for it. So, we all sat down, including my daughter who's been out of the house and going to college at this time. And instead of apologizing, my husband's daughter called me a scammer, and that all Asians who marry Americans are only doing it for the citizenship. I was waiting for my husband to do something, and he just sat there like a stump. His daughter left the house after that, and we tried to make the marriage work, but my husband continued to act like nothing's happened. I never recovered from it and grew bitter because of it, finally leading to our separation. Right now, I'm sad at what happened to my marriage, but tried to maintain a decent relationship with my husband. We have been separated for more than 6 months now, and he comes whenever I need help, and he is still covered under my insurance. I love my husband and want our marriage to work, but I can't stand his family and the way that they have treated us. My husband also runs to his mother every time something happens within our marriage, alienating his whole family against me. Not to mention that they probably didn't like me in the first place. Now my husband is constantly sick. He blamed me for not taking him off the insurance, making him feel hamstrung because he couldn't get an insurance on his own now. I was thinking, if you wanted to get your own, you could have gotten a second insurance. But it's too cheap to do so because I have been paying for his. Are there married couples here who were able to survive blended families? Can you live with your husband and make the marriage work without having anything to do with his family? I'm okay financially. I'm probably better off than my husband right now. I have a full-time job and teaches at a nearby university. I'm just lonely every day, but at least I'm not hateful all the time anymore. My heart was filled with so much hate and bitterness when my husband and I were still together because I feel like I married a different man than the one I fell in love with. Anyway, my husband and I have been separated for more than 6 months now. I was born a Catholic, but when I joined him in this country, we agreed that we will be going to the same church. We went to a Christian church, and I loved and believed in the doctrine that it's God, husband, wife triumvirate in marriage. My husband and I had a stressful marriage over the last 3 years, mainly because of his children. They never forgave him for the divorce, and as a result, my husband is deathly scared of his own kids, sacrificing our marriage many times. It came to a point where the fighting between us over his kids, stuff, etc., happens every day, and one day, he sat me down and told me God did not want to fix our marriage. If God wanted to fix our marriage, he would have done so from the beginning. Pretty twisted way of thinking if you ask me. So, I left, and found an apartment I can move into thinking that we need space to try and think things through. I kept him on my insurance because he's been sick lately. After I left, he's been to the hospital multiple times, racking almost $70,000 in medical bills that my insurance is paying for. To make the long story short, he now blames me for keeping him on my insurance because he told me he feels hamstrung. He said he is now uninsurable because of pre-existing health condition. I told him, you are welcome to stay on my insurance for as long as you want to. And divorce is the furthest thing from my mind. He told me he didn't want to be dependent on me, and that after the year is up, he will apply to a health group, where Christians are paying for other Christians. Furthermore, whenever he comes up to my area, he invites me to dinner. But he told me that he doesn't want me to think that just because he's inviting me to dinner doesn't mean that we are reconciling. One day, I visited him while he is at the hospital and I told him that the ball is in his court. If he wants to save our marriage and work on it, I'll work with him, but if he wants a divorce, I will respect his decision as well. I'm at a place where I will be fine either way, and this seems to make him even more upset with me. He said he's not thinking of divorce and he doesn't know where he's at right now. And he doesn't want to talk about it because his goal is to get better and get off my insurance. I could not make heads nor tails of what my husband is thinking. He does not want to accept insurance coverage from me, even though I am offering it to him, but would choose to let a group of good-hearted Christians pay for his medical needs. Also, my husband left the church that we are going because he doesn't want to hear what other men are telling him in order to fix the marriage, which is to follow the biblical marriage principle of God, husband, and wife, and that children should be made to respect and be accountable to their parents. He believes the men don't know what they're talking about because none of them are in a blended family. I'm not from this country. I migrated here to marry my husband. I brought my only daughter with me. I believe that I did everything I can to win my husband's children's heart. I brought them and picked them up from school every day the first year I was here since both their parents are too busy to take them. And I have yet to find a job of my own at the time. I took them to the movies, shopping, etc. I thought my in-laws were accepting us as family. But then they started telling my husband not to show affection to my daughter lest it makes his own children jealous. They also drilled into my husband that his children should be his priority even if he is remarried. I would not have cared had not my daughter been part of the sacrifice in order to please the whims of my husband's children. Then one of his daughters started living with us and expect my daughter and I to do all the housework because we were from a third world country. Those were my H's daughter's words which I overheard when my husband finally decided to tell his daughter to share in the housework. I told my husband I overheard them, and he said his daughter is entitled to her opinion. I grew bitter and resentful over my husband's cowardice to put his foot down when it comes to respect for me inside our supposed home. There are so many instances of disrespect from my husband's daughter. And my husband continued to choose not to set rules. We became distant, and the marriage got colder and colder. And now, I feel like I still want to save the marriage, but the only thing that my husband is seeing is the hurt that I have caused him by leaving, and not the reason why I left. People tell me that it's a tough call for him because that will be his children no matter what. I never wanted him to give up his relationship with his children, just not to expect me to bow down to them when they are being disrespectful and unreasonable. I pray every day to give me strength and to show me the way to forgive completely. I have not practiced Catholicism since I arrived in this country. Like I said, I followed my husband to his Protestant Christian church, for as long as we belong in the fundamental teachings of Christianity, such as Jesus Christ is the one true Savior, biblical principles, and the like. I have no problem giving up religious practices which are just culture and not biblical doctrines anyway. I have talked the ear off my pastor, but he really can't do anything if my husband is not willing to work on the marriage. My husband says he doesn't know where he's at. It has been almost 7 months since we've separated and he still doesn't know where he's at. On the other hand, he's been sick a lot of times, and maybe that's what's clouding his judgment right now. But I get frustrated because I feel like all I've shown him is kindness since the separation, but he is intent on hurting me every time we see each other. He would invite me to dinner but will be critical of the decisions that I make in my everyday life. He also continuously tells me not to be hopeful and expect reconciliation just because we are having dinner together. A friend told me that because he was hurt when I left, now that he knows that I want to work on the marriage, he saw an opportunity to hurt me back. Not thinking that I have been hurting all this time we were separated. I really don't know how a divorce would be a better option for my husband more so than making our marriage work. I'm not perfect, but I wasn't the worst out there. During our marriage, I never cuss, nag, or do anything horribly unforgivable. I keep quiet when I'm hurt, I must admit, and it takes days for me to get over it. This frustrates my husband to no end. I was deeply insecure the first year that I moved here because I had no job, friends, family, and resources. But I did everything I can to get a good paying job so I can help my husband financially. I take care of myself so my husband will be proud when he's with me. I only have eyes and heart for my husband, never once flirting or giving attention to any man who is showing interest in me. But I hurt easily, maybe because I feel like I love my husband more than he loves me. And I wanted proof that this is not so. This frustrates him even more, and I feel like I'm not worth the effort to show kindness just to appease my insecurities. A kind word, flowers, a love note, spontaneous actions of generosity are too much for my husband to give to me. Meanwhile, I was showering him with gifts without any occasion. Maybe it is wrong to expect the same courtesy from your spouse. But oh well, right now, I do love him still, but I'm ready whatever happens. Several months of separation has prepared me for whatever happens in the future of our marriage. I do know that I will never go back to the situation we once had. Furthermore, my daughter and I will not be sacrificed again for spoiled brats and vindictive relatives. It's been over a year since my STBX and I separated. I tried everything I can possibly swallow in order to facilitate reconciliation, but my STBX was adamant that there will be none. I was so angry, bitter, resentful, sad, depressed, and all the horrible emotions that most of us go through. For the year that we separated, finally, my daughter sat me down and told me that I need to stop. She's graduating from psychology and has been my personal counselor for the past year. She said that I need to understand people on their own terms, meaning my STBX and his family, for everything that I believe he and they did to me. Us. I swear to you people, when your child speaks to you with such wisdom and kindness, it's like an epiphany. It's like a cold water was poured all over me, and I really stopped being angry and resentful. I'm still sad, but I no longer dream of ways I can get back at my STBX and his family for all the transgressions they did to me. I started talking to my STBX in kindness. I became very patient, because like my daughter said, all the past hurts and insults that he did to me will never happen again. It's my choice. After the divorce, I will not have to see or talk to him or any of them forever since we have no children together. So, I started toying at the idea of dating. A friend introduced me to this guy, and he's been kind and wonderful. He calls me every night just to ask me how I am, and gives me words of encouragement, which in our lonely world is just gold. We're friends now, and I can't start any serious communication with him since I'm still technically married. I told him my divorce will be final in 90 days, then we can really start getting serious. I know he wants to get physical, and so do I. It's been a year. Ladies and gentlemen, and I have needs as well. When I say physical, I meant kissing, hugging, first base, or however you call it. Bonding is too intimate, and I think it will take a long time to get there. But anyway, my STBX called and told me that I need to sign another mutual consent to divorce form since I messed the other one up by dating it. I said, I apologized and go ahead and send it, and I will sign it and have it notarized right away. I opted not to hire an attorney since I didn't go for any of his assets. Not a single blind penny. This has been 30 days ago. I keep asking him to send me a new document and he keeps saying he will send it, but he never does. I don't know if he got wind of this guy that I am slowly falling for, and is just being vindictive. Or he's having second thoughts, but as usual, doesn't have the balls to admit it. What do I do? I'm so freaking confused about pushing for the divorce and moving on, or have hope again that my STBX has finally seen the light of day and decided to keep our marriage after all. Any thoughts will be gladly appreciated. On the bright side, it doesn't really hurt anymore. Truly folks, and attention from the opposite gender, whether it's serious or not, gives you a boost of self-confidence. Forget about those self-help books about finding inner happiness. Humans are innately social. You need another human being to feel needed and loved. So, my divorce decree arrived. It's finally over. X texted me several days ago, telling me how homesick he is for my country, as if he's looking to me to give him comfort. I said, someday, my country and I will just be a distant memory. He answered back, doubtful, changed my name back to my maiden name, and removed him from my insurance coverage. I feel sad, but relieved that closure has come finally. What do you think about these stories? Do things get better? Sub and bell, check out the other parts if you haven't, and I will see you in the next one.